You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Today is National Signing Day. It's the beginning of the early signing period as we know it. And LSU has had a pretty uneventful day, which is actually kind of awesome to see. So I want to give you some of my reaction to today because there's a lot of different ways to evaluate a signing class, but you can't really know until a signing class their career ends, right? You can't know how successful a class was until their time at LSU is done. The example that I give all the time is the 2020 class. The 2020 class was, on paper, awesome. It was the fourth-ranked class in the country, and it had 5 stars like Eric Gilbert and Eli Ricks and Kayshon Boutte. And how did that all turn out? That entire class bolted, didn't pan out, whatever it may be. The flip side of it is, you look at this class. You got a guy like Weston Weaver. He's an offensive tackle from the state of Texas. You flipped from Texas A&M. On3 has Weston Weaver ranked as the number 20 overall prospect in America. 5-star, number 20 overall. ESPN doesn't even have him in their top 300. I mean, you want to talk about the disparity. So the beauty of a recruit, of a signing class, is truly in the eye of the beholder. And only time will tell us if it works out. I, today, as we sit here, am mostly impressed by 2 things that Brian Kelly and his staff did. Number 1, they had 27 commitments coming into today, and all 27 signed today. I mean, they had this thing wrapped up by lunch. Not only that, but Shea Dixon shared this with us. During the contact period, so of course you had a dead period, you had the contact period, and then obviously now the signing period. But none of LSU's 27 commitments, 0, took a visit. All 27 were committed to LSU. They were ready to sign, and nobody took a visit. That suggests to me anyway that this staff identified players it wanted, clearly communicated its message, its vision for those players, and only took commitments from guys that were serious about their commitment. I think in this day and age of recruiting, that's pretty awesome. So I'm glad to see that. That was number 1. Number 2, I think, and this is something we have discussed before, but I think it's a change. It's an illustration of the change in focus for this staff from Brian Polian to Frank Wilson as recruiting coordinator. When Brian Kelly got here in 2022, they signed 15 high school players. That's how it always goes in the first year of a coach. You get in late, you're generally going to have a skeleton class, and they signed double-digit transfers. It was like 15 high school players, 15 transfers. Last year, the 23 class, there were 26 players that signed with LSU. 26. 10 of them were from Louisiana. 5 from Texas, 4 from Georgia, and you had represented 10 different states a year ago. 10 different states represented in that class a year ago when you looked at how the class broke down and where all of the prospects came from. This year, 27 total signees, 17 from Louisiana, 6 from Texas. 1 from Georgia, 1 from Florida, 1 from North Carolina. There's 6 states total represented, all in the Southeast. And 17 from Louisiana. What Brian Polian did was what he used to do at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's class this year, by the way, and this isn't a Notre Dame take. I'm not sitting here trying to give you any type of take or perspective on Notre Dame. It's not a shot at Notre Dame. It's just an illustration of the difference in styles and approaches. Notre Dame, their class this year, consists of players from 15 different states, from both coasts and points in between. You know this intellectually, but you see it illustrated on days like this. LSU signed 27 players, 17 of them are from Louisiana. That is a stark contrast from what Brian Polian did to what Frank Wilson is doing. Couple of other things from this class. You have essentially flipped your transfer to high school ratio. The first year, as we mentioned, you had 15 high school signees and 15 transfers. Last year, you had double-digit transfers as well. This year, you have 26 high school, 1 JUCO, and right now you got 4 transfers who are committed to you. So you have flipped that ratio in how you're building your program. Also, I look at it and say, did you add positions of need? And this year for LSU, I think the answer is undeniably yes. When you look at the greatest position of need for LSU coming out of this season, undeniably LSU's biggest weakness, we all know it, we've all said it, was in the defensive backfield. You were awful in the secondary. You have 4 cornerbacks committed, 2 safeties, including the highest rated defensive player in this class is a safety from Denham Springs in Deshaun McBride. You check the box of addressing your needs. When Brian Kelly came here, what did we all say was Brian Kelly's greatest asset as a recruiter and developer? Offensive line, tight end, right? So we all talked about. Look at what he has done in 3 years. Will Campbell and Emory Jones 2 years ago, who have both been awesome. Last year, you get 5 stars of Lance Hurd. You also get DJ Chester. And this year, I just mentioned you go get Weston Weaver, another 5-star offensive tackle. You continue to stockpile, not just offensive linemen, but like elite level 5-star projected first-round offensive linemen. Tight end, you absolutely nailed it with Mason Taylor. It was a 3-star. You identified the skill set, and boom. You signed 4 last year. Mac Markway looks like a stud. Kamarian Pimpton is going to be a really good player, we think. Jackson McGowan has transferred out. But you really like that tight end room. And then on top of it, this year, the number 1 player in Louisiana is Trey'Dez Green, who is a 6'5", 250-pound freak show who you've got committed at that position who's going to impact your team year 1 because he is such a mismatch physically on linebackers. So you continue to do the thing that Brian Kelly's done exceptionally well as a recruiter throughout his career. Running back, you get Caden Durham. So you go from 2 seasons ago, all right, the 22 season, where Josh Williams, a former walk-on, is your leading rusher. And again, it's no disrespect to Josh Williams, but look at what you've done since. Caleb Jackson looks like an NFL running back. Caden Durham looks like an NFL running back. When you start to project and what it's going to be like for 2025, Harlem Berry, the number 1 running back in the country, who's thought to be a heavy lean toward LSU, your backfield looks like you're stockpiling NFL running backs again. That's what it should be at LSU. You're checking these boxes. You got an elite quarterback in Colin Hurley, who, if you missed it earlier this week, we chatted with Sean Salisbury. And man, so impressive to hear him talk about his experience at the Under Armour or the U.S. Army All-American game, where he was Colin Hurley's offensive coordinator, gushed about him. You could tell that's a dude with tremendous upside. You just see when you look into the nuance, you could pull back and you could do the view of, well, the entire landscape and what are the rankings, but when you actually start to get into the nuance of what you need, the positions you addressed, how you did it, it builds to be very impressive. So I don't care if LSU's ranked 3rd or 8th or 12th or 12th. I'm not minimizing the importance of a recruiting ranking because you can look at the top 10 programs in the recruiting rankings every year and see, well, those are teams that are contenders every year. And that's true. But in what order? The margin is so slim. Texas A&M 2 years ago, the greatest class ever. How did that work out for them? Did you address positions of need? Did you develop? Did you keep players? That's all part of the culture you're building, and clearly Brian Kelly is building that. And the other thing worth mentioning, this recruiting class isn't finished. You've still got the February signing date. Terry Bussey, a 5-star, is still very much in play for LSU. And Dominic McKinley, the number one player in Louisiana by some services, defensive lineman out of Acadiana, who is still very much in play, as LSU's getting an official visit from Dominic McKinley here in a few weeks. And you're not done adding transfers if you see other players go into the portal at position of needs. So you've got 27 players signed right now, plus your transfers, and you're not done. So when we come back in totality and look at this class, we'll do it after the February signing day, or maybe even once this team hits fall camp, because as a graduate, guys could always hit the portal. I mean, that's what Joe Burrow did. He went in the portal after spring. I mean, LSU got Joe Burrow in May of 2018. So you're far from done at this point still. And I'll remind you, it's especially important on a day like today. I was asked this morning by someone who pointed it out and said, I mean, Brian Kelly's just had a couple of 9-win seasons. Aren't we basically what we always were before? Not exactly. Because you can't lose sight in the context of what Brian Kelly inherited. Okay? Brian Kelly didn't inherit the 2019 national championship team. He inherited a program that went 5-5, 6-7, had 39 scholarship players available for a bowl game in the Texas Bowl against Kansas State, a program that was in complete shambles and disarray because of the way Ed Orgeron left it. And he came in here, and in 2 years, he's staring down back-to-back 10-win seasons. He's beaten Bama. He's won the SEC West. You've got a Heisman winner, and the arrow's pointing up. You are undeniably in a better place today than you were the day Brian Kelly took over. Now, you're not where everyone expects this program to be, Brian Kelly included, because that's Georgia, Alabama. That's competing for winning national championships. And you're not there today. But hopefully this class will be another building block in getting you over that threshold into the playoff, competing for and winning national championships, which is where everyone expects this program to be. And I like the way they built this class because I think it gets you steps closer. Thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.